A number of people have talked to me about voting. I was in an airplane and this person next to me, he was arguing with me about something, and then it's a restaurant, somebody else was, people have really strong opinions. But we have to base it on principles, not just on opinions. So I'd just like to read from two moral theology books and then my Catholic faith, just because this has to do with our civil duties and the fourth commandment. So this is from Joan Adelman, a very good moral theology book, Election of Good Representatives. But before I'll preface it, even religious vote for superiors, and I think we have every 4 years or so, we elect a superior general and then his advisors, and it's a good thing because let's say you have a superior who's not very good, okay, then you can vote him on office, and he's at the top of the totem pole, he was a superior, but then later he wasn't a good superior, and then he's at the bottom of the totem pole. And it's a good thing, and then it's easier to obey your superiors because you voted them in. And everybody has faults. And then someone called me yesterday and they were saying, are we obliged just to vote for traditional Catholic representatives? Okay, there aren't too many. I don't know if, so that's not, if there was a choice, a traditional Catholic government official and then someone who's opposed to Catholic teaching and morals and it's the Constitution, et cetera, then it's an easy choice, right? But anyway, this is what John Adelman says. Voting is a civic duty which would seem to bind, at least under venial sin, whenever a good candidate has an unworthy opponent. It might even be a mortal sin if one's refusal to vote would result in the election of an unworthy candidate. One may vote for an unworthy candidate only when this is necessary to prevent a still less worthy candidate from obtaining office. So it's really the lesser of two evils. This person's not bad, this person's a lot worse. And then they're governing us, then there's... And then this is from Henry Davis. He was a Jesuit. He wrote 4 books on moral theology, and he's talking about the fourth commandment. It's the duty of all citizens who have the right to vote to exercise that right when the common good of the state or the good of religion and morals requires their votes, and when their voting is useful. It is sinful, when I say voting is useful, I heard, I didn't confirm this, but Russia had, this is what I heard, that Russia had elections, but it was just for one person. So anyway, there was an election, but you only had one choice. So it is sinful to vote for the enemies of religion or liberty, except to exclude a worse candidate, or unless compelled by fear of great personal harm, etc. But in politics, great latitude is rightly claimed by all citizens. As a matter of political education, Catholics should exercise their right of voting, for the safety and progress of religion depends very much on the electors. And then lastly, this is from my Catholic faith, Bishop Morrow, having to do with the fourth commandment and civic duties. We are responsible to God for the men we elect to office, for he has permitted us the right and duty to select the men we want. In some countries he can't, but at least we can. For everyone who has the right to vote has likewise a serious obligation to use that right properly. Electors must choose men of experience and Christian principles. If we elect men with no religious principles, we should not be surprised if later in office they turn out unsatisfactory. And he goes on, every Catholic who has the right to vote should exercise that right. Matters closely connected with the life of the people are the constant subject of legislation or debate. In other words, these things, with their policies and then different other things will affect your daily life. Even if your vote does not enable the good candidate to win, at least it will lessen the margin of his defeat. A Catholic elector who gives his vote to a candidate hostile to Christian principles or by abstaining from voting contributes towards the success of such a candidate has much to answer for. It is a Catholic voter's duty to vote for candidates that will act justly in questions of morals and have the Christian principles at heart. Those who do not have the right to vote ought to pray for a result in the election favorable to upright men and the country in general. A Catholic elector must not vote for any candidate who despises the teachings of Christianity. Before voting, he should find out the candidate's view on education, marriage, etc. So it's good to, like I said, be educated, know what's at stake. It may happen that all the candidates for office are indifferent or hostile to religion. In that case, if no other candidate can be made available, the Catholic should vote for the one least hostile to Christian principles, most moral in his qualities.